The forest was silent that morning, only the sound of dry leaves under his boots. The man, a wanderer who lived on the edge of the wildlands, had gone deeper than ever before. He had no reason to be there. Yet something pulled him forward, like a whisper he could not hear, but only feel. The trees grew taller and darker, their branches blocking most of the sunlight. The air felt heavy, and even the birds refused to sing. Most people in the village said no man should enter this part of the forest. They spoke of shadows, monsters, and things better left alone, but he had never believed in stories. He believed only in what he could see with his own eyes, and then he saw it on the ground. Half hidden under a layer of moss and fallen leaves lay something strange. It was not a rock, not a fruit, and not a thing he could name. It was smooth and round, about the size of his hands together. Its surface glowed faintly. Like moonlight caught inside a shell, he bent down, brushing away the leaves. His heart beat faster as he touched it. It was warm, almost alive. A crack ran across one side, thin but sharp, and when his fingers brushed against it, he felt a tremble run through the shell. He froze, looking around, but the forest was silent. No one was there. He knew he should leave it. He knew if he brought it back, the tribe would call him cursed, but his hand would not let go. Something about the egg felt wrong to abandon. So he picked it up. The weight surprised him, heavier than stone. Yet when he lifted it to his chest, he felt something shift inside, a soft thump, like a heartbeat. His breath caught. He was not carrying just an egg. He was carrying a life all the way back through the forest. He felt uneasy. Every shadow seemed to follow him. Every sound made him grip the egg tighter. Once he thought he saw glowing eyes staring at him from the trees, but when he turned, nothing was there. Still, he hurried. Holding the egg close, at his hut near the edge of the village, he placed the egg in a basket by the fire. He tried not to stare at it, but his eyes, always, returned. The glow was faint, but constant, like it was breathing, like it was waiting. That night, he could not sleep. He heard soft sounds, tiny cracks, the scrape of something inside. He leaned close, his hand hovering. Then the shell moved. A line spread. Across it, thin but sharp, a sound came from within, weak and smaller cry. He pulled back, unsure what to do. The egg shook again, pieces of shell breaking away. A tiny claw appeared, dark and sharp. Then another. Soon the egg split open, and something fell into the basket. It was a creature, small, wet, trembling, with skin darker than night and eyes glowing faintly blue. It was no bird, no lizard, no beast he had ever seen. Its body was weak, its head too large for its size, but when it looked up at him, it did not hiss or bite. It only made a small, broken sound. He stared, his mind torn. He should throw it out. Let it die. That was what the tribe would say. They hated strange things. They killed what they feared. Yet he did not move. His chest felt heavy, and his hand reached forward on its own. He wrapped the small creature in cloth and held it close to his chest. The little body was warm. Its tiny claws pressed against his skin, but did not cut. Slowly, its breathing softened. Its glowing eyes closed, and it slept. He sat there in silence. Watching the fire, he knew what he had done. He knew the risk. By morning, if the tribe found out, they would drive him away. They would call him a fool. They would say he brought danger upon them all. But as he held the small creature, he whispered to himself, "You're not danger, you're just..." Alone and deep inside, he felt something change, for the first time in many years. He did not feel alone either. The forest outside was silent, but far away, something stirred. In the shadows, eyes glowed faintly. The air trembled, as if the world had noticed that a bond had been formed. A human had taken what was forbidden, and now the story of man and beast had begun. The sun rose slowly over the village, its golden light touching the rooftops. The man had not slept. All night he had kept the strange little creature close to him, listening to its soft breathing. When morning came, he expected it to still be weak, perhaps even lifeless, but instead, it was awake. Blinking at him with bright blue eyes, the creature moved clumsily, its small body shaking as it tried to stand. Its legs were thin, its claws too large. It stumbled, then fell into his lap. Yet when he lifted it, the little beast gave a soft growl. Not of anger, but of stubborn will. It was as if it refused to be helpless. He tried giving it water in a small wooden bowl. The creature sniffed it, then drank with surprising hunger. Later, he offered scraps of dried meat, not sure if it would eat what humans ate. To his surprise, it tore at the food with sharp teeth, far stronger than its size suggested. By midday, the man realized something wherever he went. The creature followed. If he rose to fetch wood, it stumbled after him. If he stepped outside, it tottered on its little legs, struggling but refusing to be left behind. When he returned to the hut, it dragged itself inside. Collapsing by his feet with a tired sigh, the man shook his head, a strange feeling growing in his chest. He had saved it, yes, but it was not just surviving. It was choosing him. The days passed. The creature grew fast, faster than any animal he had ever seen. Its body filled out, its small wings stretching. Though too weak to carry it yet, its claws grew sharper, and its growl deeper. But even as it grew more dangerous, it never left his side. When he walked to the river, it padded along. When he gathered berries in the forest, it kept watch, glaring at shadows no human eye could see. Soon, the villagers began to notice. Children whispered, first, pointing at the man and his shadow that was not human. Some dared to follow him at a distance, gasping when they saw glowing eyes staring back from the beast. The children ran to tell their parents, and soon the whispers became louder. The man walks with a monster, they said. He keeps dark things in his hut, they warned. Mark my words, one day it will eat him. But none of that happened. At night, when the fire burned low, the creature curled beside him, breathing softly like a child. In the mornings, it greeted him with small nudges of its head. Once, when he tripped on the forest path, it rushed to his side, growling at the air as if protecting him from an unseen foe. The bond between them grew, silent but unbreakable. One evening, he went deeper into the forest, carrying only his knife. He was gathering roots when he heard a rustle. His hand went to the knife, but before he could move, the creature stepped in front of him, its tiny body tense, its glowing eyes locked on the shadows. From the darkness, a wild boar charged, its tusks sharp. Its roar filled the forest. The man raised his knife, but the creature was faster. With a screech, it leaped, claws flashing, though small. Its attack was fierce, slashing at the boar's face. The beast stumbled back, blood streaming, before it turned and fled. The man stared in shock, breathing hard. He had raised it only days, yet it had already risked its life for him. He crouched, reaching out. The creature was bleeding, but it stood tall, proud. It gave a low growl, as if saying, "I will protect you." Word of the boar attack spread quickly. Soon, the entire village knew that the monster cub had saved a man, but instead of respect, fear grew deeper. The elders whispered of curses, saying no man should raise a beast of the forest. Some nights, he heard villagers gathering near his hut. They spoke in hushed tones, some even throwing stones at his roof. But he never stepped out. He sat by the fire, the creature resting against his leg. One night, however, something happened that silenced even his doubts. A storm swept across the land, heavy rain pounding the huts. Thunder roared, lightning split the sky. In the chaos, one of the villagers' children wandered too close to the river. The current was strong, and the child slipped, cries lost in the storm. The man heard the faint scream. He ran, the creature bounding beside him, faster than his own legs. The beast dove into the river. Its glowing eyes cut through the storm as it caught the child in its jaws, holding gently, not to harm, but to save, with powerful kicks. It dragged the child back to shore. Dropping him safely into the man's arms, the villagers arrived, gasping at what they saw. The monster they feared had saved their child. Some wept, others bowed their heads. But the elders only grew more uneasy, for the man knew the truth now. This creature was not just his burden. It was his companion, his family, his protector, and, though the tribe would never accept it, he could no longer imagine life without it. The little beast was no longer helpless, and the man understood this was only the beginning. The creature was no longer tiny. Weeks turned into months, and every day it grew larger, stronger, and more fearsome. The man watched with awe and unease as the little beast he had carried in his arms now stood taller than his waist, its wings. Once soft and weak, now stretched wide, though it had not yet taken flight. Its claws carved marks into wood with ease. Its teeth gleamed like knives. But what shocked him most was the way it learned. It was not only muscle and bone, it was mind. The creature began to understand his gestures, his words, and even his moods. When he called, it came. When he raised a hand to signal silence, it crouched low. Its glowing eyes followed his every move, as if studying him. The bond between man and beast had deepened. Yet the whispers in the village had turned to fear and anger. Parents dragged their children away when he walked by. Elders shook their heads, and hunters muttered that one day he would unleash disaster. From cub to predator, one villager spat, "You will regret what you are raising." But regret never came. Instead, pride grew. The man had nothing in this world, no family, no land worth speaking of. Yet when the beast stood by his side, he felt he was not nothing anymore. He was needed, he was chosen. The villagers soon had more reason to fear. The beast began hunting on its own, disappearing into the forest for hours and returning with prey twice its size. Sometimes deer, sometimes wild boar. Once, it even dragged the carcass of a giant wolf, its muzzle stained with blood. It laid the kill at the man's feet, waiting for praise. Like a loyal dog, but far more terrifying. At night, its growls echoed through the forest, a sound that sent shivers down spines. No predator dared approach their hut. Even the boldest stayed away. The man slept without fear, knowing nothing in the dark could harm him any more. One evening, the man dared to walk into the village with his beast at his side. The moment they entered, silence fell. Men dropped their tools. Women pulled their children inside. All eyes locked on the predator with glowing blue eyes and a body of muscle and claw. The beast did nothing. It walked calmly, keeping close to the man, but its presence was enough to shake hearts. The elders stood together, their faces pale. "You must leave it," one said. "It will bring ruin," another warned. "Destroy it before it destroys us." But the man shook his head. "It is not a monster. It saved your children. It hunts so you may sleep safely at night. You fear what you do not understand." The beast tilted its head, watching them, and, though it did not growl, the air felt heavy. The villagers could not answer. They scattered back to their huts, leaving the man alone in the square. He walked away, the predator beside him. Stronger than ever, but deep inside, he knew something. The village would not remain silent forever. Fear was a fire, and once lit, it only grew. Days later, a test of loyalty came. The man was gathering herbs by the river when raiders attacked us. Strangers from another land, armed with spears and axes. They outnumbered him, circling with cruel laughter. He raised his knife, knowing it was not enough. The raiders charged, but before steel met flesh, a shadow fell across them. The beast roared. A sound so deep it shook the ground, its wings stretched wide, its claws flashing. In seconds, blood sprayed the riverbank. The raiders fell screaming, torn apart by the predator they had underestimated. The survivors fled, never looking back. The man stood frozen, breathing hard. He had seen his companion kill before, but never like this. This was not the helpless cub. This was not the clumsy little beast. This was a predator, terrifying and merciless. And yet, when it turned back to him, its glowing eyes softened. It lowered its head, waiting for his touch. His hand shook as he reached forward, but he did not pull away. He laid his palm on its blood-stained muzzle. "You're still mine," he whispered. "No matter what you've become." That night, the tribe could not ignore the truth. The man had raised something beyond their control, stronger than any warrior. Dead raiders proved it. The whispers grew louder. Some called him protector. Others called him cursed. Children peeked from behind walls to watch the predator walk. Some in fear, some in wonder. Mothers warned them never to go near. Fathers sharpened their spears. The village was divided, but all agreed on one thing. The beast was no longer small. The man sat by the fire, staring into the flames. The predator curled beside him, its body too large to fit fully inside the hut. Its glowing eyes watched the night, alert. He realized then that the bond he had chosen was no longer a secret. The world would take notice, and far beyond the village, in lands he had never seen. Other eyes had already turned toward the forest. Other tribes, kings, and hunters would hear the stories. A man and his beast, walking as one. The cub was gone. The predator had risen, and this was only the beginning of the storm to come. The storm had passed, and the land was quiet again. Yet whispers of the predator spread far beyond the small village. Traders carried tales of a man walking with a beast, a creature too deadly to belong in any human home. Some told the story in fear, others in awe, and slowly those stories reached the ears of the tribe that ruled the valley. This tribe was larger, richer, and more powerful than any nearby. At its heart lived their princess, a woman said to be proud, wise, and brave. She often hunted with her warriors, proving she was no fragile flower, but a leader in her own right. When she heard of the predator, she scoffed. "No man can tame what should not be tamed," she said. Her elders nodded, though in secret they feared the rumor might be true. Days later, the princess set out into the forest with her guards. They laughed and talked, their spears glinting in the sun. She led them deeper than usual, for she wished to see with her own eyes the land where the man and his beast were said to walk. The forest, however, held its own dangers. Shadows stirred, and hungry eyes watched from the trees. A pack of wild creatures, larger than wolves and twice as savage, had been hunting. Nearby, their jaws dripped with hunger. Their yellow eyes burned with bloodlust. The attack came swift. The princess had little time to shout before the pack leaped from the bushes, snarling and snapping. Her guards fought, spears clashing. But fear took them quickly. One by one they broke, running for their lives. Some fell to the beasts, others vanished into the trees. The princess was left alone, her back to a rock, her spear trembling in her hands. She struck one creature, but another lunged. Her strength was not enough. Her breath caught, and for the first time, she knew death was near. Then the forest roared. A shadow dropped from the trees with a cry so fierce that even the wild pack froze. The predator landed between the princess and her attackers. Its wings spread wide, claws sinking into the soil. Its glowing blue eyes burned like fire. The wolves snarled, circling, but they did not strike. They sensed something greater, something far beyond their hunger. When one beast dared to leap, the predator met it midair. Its claws ripped flesh. Its roar split the forest. The pack broke, fleeing into the shadows, tails tucked in fear. The princess, stunned, lowered her spear. She expected the predator to turn on her, to make her its next prey. Yet instead, it stood guard, its breath heavy, blood dripping from its claws, its eyes locked on hers. Not with hunger, but with warning. And then she saw him. The man stepped from the trees, his knife ready, though he had not needed to use it. His eyes met hers, calm but sharp. "You should not be here," he said. She stared at him, her chest rising and falling. That creature. "It is yours," she whispered. "It is not mine," he replied. "It chose me." For a long moment, silence held between them. The princess, daughter of chiefs, had been saved not by her warriors, not by her tribe, but by the very monster she had once mocked. When she returned to her people, carried on a litter for her wounds, the story spread like fire. Some laughed at the shame that their princess had been rescued by a beast. Others whispered of fate, saying perhaps the predator was not a curse, but a sign. The princess, however, could not forget those glowing blue eyes, nor the calm voice of the man who walked with such a creature. Her pride stung, but her heart burned. With questions, she had been saved, and she owed her life. Days later, she went again to the forest. This time in secret. She found him by a river, the predator drinking beside him. She did not raise her spear. Instead, she bowed her head, just slightly. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why protect me?" The man shrugged. "Because you are alive," he said simply. "And because it chose to protect you too?" He glanced at the predator, who sat watching her silently. The princess felt a strange shiver. She was used to men kneeling before her, 2 warriors obeying her. Yet here stood a man who bowed to no one, and a beast more powerful than all her guards combined. She realized then that her people's fears were half blind. Yes, the predator was dangerous, but it was also loyal. Her choice weighed heavy on her heart. Should she return and tell her people the truth? Or should she remain silent, knowing they would never accept what had saved her life? That night, under the stars, she whispered to herself, "I am bound to him now, whether I wish it or not." The man did not yet know. The beast did not yet know. But the princess had crossed a line that could never be walked back, and soon her decision would change everything. The forest had many secrets, but the greatest secret of all now rested in the bond between the man, the predator, and the princess. She had returned alive from her hunt, saved by the very creature her people feared most, and though her guards had run, none dared to speak the truth of their cowardice. Instead, all tongues turned toward the man and his beast. Around campfires, whispers grew. Some claimed the princess had been cursed. Others said she had knelt before the monster. A few even believed the princess had betrayed her tribe, allowing the man to control her mind with dark power. The elders gathered in secret, their voices sharp with anger. "If the princess favors this man," one spat, "then she cannot be trusted if she protects the beast." Another hissed, "She will doom us all." But the princess herself could not rest. Each night she dreamed of those glowing blue eyes, of the roar that sent predators fleeing. She dreamed of the man's calm voice, so different from the flattery she heard in her hall. Against her will, she returned again and again to the forest. One evening, under the silver light of the moon, she found him sharpening his knife. By the fire, the predator lay curled nearby, its eyes half closed, but still watchful. "Why do you not fear me?" she asked, her voice sharp yet uncertain. The man looked up. "Fear you? No," he said. "I do not fear those who seek truth. And what do you see in me?" She pressed. He paused, studying her. "I see someone trapped between what her people demand and what her heart knows." Her lips trembled. She wanted to deny it, to call him a fool, yet the words stuck in her throat. For deep inside, she knew he was right. The princess began to spend more time in the forest, speaking with him in hushed voices, watching the predator move like a shadow at his side. She learned its ways, how it listened when the man spoke, how it never struck unless he gave command, or unless danger came first, but her secret meetings did not remain secret for long. The tribe had spies, and soon word reached the ears of the elders. "Betrayal," they whispered. "She bows to the cursed man. She betrays her own blood." Rumors spread like poison. The princess's own people began to doubt her. Some of her closest guards turned cold. They muttered that she was blinded by a monster's charm. One night, she overheard two elders speaking outside her tent. "We cannot allow her to sit on the throne if she sides with him," one said. "She will bring the beast into our walls." Another agreed, "The people will rise against her." Her heart pounded. Betrayal, not by her own will, but by those who had sworn to guide her. When next she met the man, she told him of what she heard. Her voice shook. "They believe I am no longer loyal. They think I am cursed." He stared at her, his face calm but his eyes sharp. "And are you cursed?" he asked. "No," she whispered, "but I am bound to you, bound to this creature." Her gaze shifted to the predator, who sat like a silent guardian. "I do not know if it is fate or madness, but I cannot turn away." The man sighed. "Then you must be ready, because the world will not forgive what it fears." Her throat tightened. She knew he was right, already. Betrayal circled her like wolves. Days later, the elders made their move. They gathered the tribe and declared before all, "Our princess has been tainted. She consorts with a man who walks with death. She listens to the whispers of a beast instead." Of the wisdom of her people, gasps filled the air. The princess stood tall, her eyes burning. "I am no traitor," she said. "I am alive because of them. They are not curse, but shield." But the crowd was split. Some bowed their heads in shame. Others shouted in anger. The word betrayal grew louder. In the shadows of the gathering, the man stood, silent. The predator crouched low, its eyes glowing. Sensing the rising hostility, the princess looked at the man. Her voice was steady, though her heart trembled. "If they call me betrayer," she whispered, "then let them. I would rather betray fear than betray truth." That night, the tribe was divided. Some called for her to step down, others to banish the man. But neither happened, for the storm had only begun. The predator, once just a strange cub, now stood at the center of a battle between loyalty and betrayal. And the princess knew every step she took from now on would decide not only her fate, but the fate of two tribes. The whispers of betrayal had not died. They had only grown louder. The princess found herself watched at every step, her people, torn between love for her and fear of what she carried in her heart. The man, meanwhile, lived on the edge of the forest, silent, patient, yet always aware that the storm was coming. It came not from within, but from outside. One dawn horns sounded from the valley. The sound was harsh, unlike any call of the forest. Raiders, a ruthless band from the northern hills, had come, their banners black, their weapons sharp. They fell upon the tribe with fire and steel. The villagers screamed as huts burned. Warriors tried to stand, but the raiders were many. Trained and merciless, the elders shouted orders, but fear broke their lines. The princess herself stood with her spear, striking again and again. But even she was pushed back by the flood of enemies. And then, from the forest's edge, a roar split the sky. The predator came. No longer small, no longer half-grown. It charged into the battle like a storm-given flesh. Its wings spread wide, casting shadows over fire. Its claws tore through armored men as if they were reeds. Its teeth sank into steel and bone. Its eyes glowed like burning stars. The raiders faltered. Some fled at once. Others tried to fight. but their spears broke against its hide. Their shields shattered under its blows. The predator leaped, each strike leaving men broken. Its tail lashed, sending warriors flying. Beside it stood the man, his knife flashing. He was no great warrior, yet with the predator at his side, he was unstoppable. No one could touch him without. Meeting claws first, the princess, stunned, lowered her spear for a moment. She had never seen such power. The stories had been whispers. But now she saw truth with her own eyes. This was no cub. This was no pet. This was a force that could change the world. The raiders regrouped, shouting in rage. A dozen charged together, spears aimed at the beast. The predator roared. The sound? Shaking the ground, it leaped into the air, wings beating with fury. For the first time, it flew. Not high, not far, but enough. It crashed down upon the raiders with all its weight, crushing them like brittle twigs. The battlefield froze. Even the princess's people stared in awe. For in that moment, they realized the truth. This creature was not just a beast. It was a weapon, a shield, a god of war. When the last of the raiders fled, leaving behind their dead, silence fell. The predator stood in the center of the blood-soaked field, its chest rising and falling. Its glowing eyes scanned the tribe, not with hunger, but with warning. The villagers trembled. Some dropped to their knees. Bowing, others turned away, unable to meet its gaze. The elders whispered among themselves, fear heavy in their voices. But the princess stepped forward. She walked across the battlefield, her head held high. Her people gasped as she stood before the predator. So close she could feel its breath. It lowered its head, not as a threat, but as recognition. She turned to her people, her voice steady. "This is not a curse," she said. "This is not betrayal." She pointed to the burned huts, to the bodies of the raiders. Without them, we would all be ash. Her words rang out. But the elders shook their heads. "It is too dangerous." They hissed. "Today, it saved us. Tomorrow, it may destroy us." The princess clenched her fists. "Then perhaps it is not the beast we should fear," she replied, "but our own blindness." The man said nothing. He stood beside his companion, silent as ever. His eyes met hers for only a moment, and she understood he had never raised the beast for power. Never for glory. He had raised it because he could not let it die alone, and now that choice had changed everything. That night, the tribe gathered in silence. The raiders had been defeated, but unease remained. Some praised the predator as a savior. Others called it a demon in disguise. The word betrayal returned, whispered sharper than before, but this time the whispers were split. For many had seen its true power, and their fear was mixed with awe. The princess sat alone by her fire, staring at her blood-stained spear. She whispered to herself, "If the world cannot accept this beast, then perhaps the world must change." And far in the forest, the predator raised its head, as if hearing her thought. Its glowing eyes burned into the night. It had tasted battle. It had revealed its true power, and it would never again be hidden. The man laid his hand on its side, feeling its muscles tremble with energy. "They fear you," he murmured, "but they will need you," for in his heart he knew. This was not the end of the fight. It was only the beginning. The battle was over, yet peace did not follow. The tribe had survived, but the shadow of fear still lingered. At night, the fires burned low and voices whispered. Some spoke of salvation, others of curses. No one could deny that the predator had saved them, but no one could deny its power either. The elders met in council, their voices sharp with anger and dread. "This beast is too dangerous," one said. "It will one day turn against us." Another agreed. "The man has bewitched our princess, and soon he will command us all." Their words spread through the tribe, twisting truth into poison. The princess listened in silence, her heart heavy. She had seen the beast's fury, but she had also seen its loyalty. She remembered its claws stained with blood, yet she remembered how it had lowered its head before her, as if recognizing her worth. Her people demanded answers. The tribe gathered. In the great circle beneath the moon, torches lighting the night, the elders stood at the front. Their eyes hard, the man stood on the other side. The predator crouched beside him like a shadow of death. Its glowing eyes swept across the crowd. Freezing them in place, the princess walked into the circle. Her steps steady, the crowd parted. Their whispers louder now. "She has chosen him," some muttered. "She has betrayed us." Others spat. The eldest of the council raised his staff. "Daughter of this tribe," he declared, "we demand your choice. Will you stand with your people, or will you stand with the monster?" The circle fell silent. All eyes turned to her. Her heart pounded like thunder. Her lips trembled. She looked first at her people, the faces of men and women she had sworn to lead. Faces of fear, suspicion, and hope. Then she turned to the man, who stood calm as always. His hand rested on the predator's neck, and the beast's glowing eyes never left hers. She closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they burned with fire. "You call it monster," she said, her voice strong. "But what have you done without it? You ran when danger came. You fled when predators attacked. You cried for help when raiders burned our homes." She pointed at the predator. "And yet you spit on the one who saved you." Gasps rose from the crowd. The elders scowled. "Do? Not be blinded by its power," one warned. "I am not blinded," the princess answered. "I see clearer than all of you. I see that strength is not curse. I see that loyalty is not betrayal. I see that family is not only of blood, but of bond." She stepped closer to the man and the predator. Her voice rang out across the circle. This man raised it when it was nothing. He fed it, cared for it, protected it, and in return, it has protected us all. Tell me, what greater loyalty can there be? The people stirred, some nodded, some frowned. Fear clashed with wonder. The elders tried again. "If you choose them, you choose against us." The princess lifted her chin. Her next words cut through the night. "Then hear me now. I choose." She turned fully to the man and bowed her head low, not as princess to subject, but as equal to equal. "I choose them," she said, her voice firm, "not because I am cursed, not because I am weak, but because they are truth, they are strength. They are my shield. My people may follow me, or they may turn away, but my choice is made." A silence heavier than stone fell. Some gasped, some shouted in outrage. But others began to kneel, slowly, like a wave. More and more dropped to their knees. The people had seen the truth with their own eyes. They could not deny it forever. The elders' faces twisted with fury. But they could not fight the tide. Their voices were drowned out by the sound of the people bowing. The predator lowered its massive head, pressing its muzzle gently against the princess's hand. The man stood silent, his eyes meeting hers. He had not asked for this, but fate had given it to him in that moment. A new bond was sealed not just between man and beast, but between them and the princess. That night, the tribe's future changed. They were no longer only a people of hunters and gatherers. They had become something more. They had a protector the world would fear, and a leader who was unafraid to stand with truth. Far away, in other valleys and kingdoms, whispers would grow. Tales would spread of a princess who chose a man and his predator over her elders. Tales of a bond stronger than blood, stronger than fear, and in the heart of the forest. The predator raised its head to the sky and roared. The sound shook the mountains, a cry not of beast but of destiny. The man laid his hand on its side, whispering softly, "We began with an egg, and now the world bows, and the princess. Standing between them, smiled faintly. Her choice had been made, and there was no